Hi everyone, today we're talking about 5 AI ideas that can help you kickstart your journey into learning AI. AI is another niche that's come up now and it's probably the most lucrative niche today. We've seen this many times now. In 2020, I saw the WebRTC bull run where everyone was trying to build real-time applications. At that time, if you knew three things, how you can create a live application, how you can understand how to stream it in a YouTube-like fashion, and how you can create something called cloud recordings, you could have been paid a lot by a bunch of clients because a lot of people were making projects in this. What was the reason for it? The reason was VCs were putting a lot of money in these markets. Today, that market is AI. Today, if you want to be a niche engineer and make crazy offers from India as a remote developer, the only path is in today's market is if you become an AI engineer. Hopefully this video kickstarts your journey. I'm going to talk about 5 very actionable ideas. These are not too difficult to build and all sort of depend on ChatGPT at the moment. So nothing too high level, extremely beginner friendly. I feel there are 2 niches in AI that will become very popular. There will be a lot of funding in them. The first one of these is large language models. This is what we're discussing today. Next one we will discuss in the next video. With that, let's get right into it. Alrighty, the first idea is building a version of ChatGPT that works via WhatsApp. So we have a ChatGPT client right now. It looks something like this. The problem is you have to go to a website. There's no official mobile app, so on and so forth. And we as Indians, the next billion people sort of live on WhatsApp. I think this is the first very basic idea that you can build, which is letting people interact with ChatGPT through WhatsApp. You have to learn 2 things here. 1, how does the WhatsApp API work? 2, how does the ChatGPT API work? I'm going to quickly talk through both of these. WhatsApp API is fairly straightforward to understand. There are a bunch of official APIs, a bunch of unofficial APIs. You can use any one of them. I'm not going to dive deeper into them. Fairly straightforward docs out there. ChatGPT has a few official clients, a few unofficial clients as well. This is the one that I found that's most popular. It's called ChatGPT API. It has a bunch of demos to get you started. You need 2 things for this. 1, you need to clone this project locally. The other thing you need is an API key on OpenAI. Eventually, your app's backend is talking to OpenAI, so you're not doing anything new here. Neither are you building your own large language model. Eventually, you can. For now, the goal is for the user to talk to ChatGPT through WhatsApp. The way to create an OpenAPI key is go to platform.openai.com and you can view your existing keys and create a new one here. You will also have to put some credits here. For example, I put $10 here. This is what gets debited every time you use the API. So this is not free, neither should it be, because all these sort of run on a server and you're trying to get more clients and make people pay for your WhatsApp service. You have to pay the other side until you're running a model of your own. Once you do both of these things, store your API key in a top-level.env file here, close this project locally, and then store your API key here. And then the way to run a bunch of these demos, for example, a very basic demo is how to run a GPT-4 prompt. And the answer is make sure the model is GPT-4 here, make sure the API key is sent here, and send the prompt using api.send message. Fairly straightforward, unofficial API, but works fairly well. This one is fairly simple. It gets slightly tricky when you are trying to create a conversation and you need to have context of the message that the user has sent before. But this, hopefully, 35 lines of code is fairly straightforward. Let's try to run it locally. As you can see, the question we have asked is when should you use Python, when you should use TypeScript, and the answer will be some generic answer that ChatGPT would give you. If you ask the same question on the ChatGPT UI, it should give you the same answer, and there you go. The answer is choosing between Python and TypeScript depends on the context of project, so on and so forth. This one was fairly straightforward. The difficult one is trying to run a demo conversation. Conversation basically means you have a long running conversation where the user is talking to you, asking more questions based on their previous conversation, similar to what happens here. As you can see here, the first prompt says write a poem about cats, and then you send it to ChatGPT using the same send message. The model here is GPT-3, 3.5. And then you have a follow-up prompt. The only extra thing that's happening here is whenever you're sending the message, the second prompt, you have to send the ID of the existing message. That's how you create a chain of conversations by sending res.id, which is the ID of the existing prompt or the existing conversation when you're sending the next prompt. Alrighty. Keep doing that for a bunch of prompts. For example, you can ask it to make it cuter, shorter, whatever, and then write it in French. It'll have context of the conversation based on these IDs that you're sending for the previous message. All right. Let's try to run this locally. It'll take slightly long. It'll take some time, but eventually it'll ask all the questions one by one. All that you have to do now is connect this to WhatsApp. So as you can see, the user asks 3 questions and it has context of the existing questions before it answers the next question. Now all you have to do is create a WhatsApp bot that the user messages And anytime the user messages it, it gets connected to this API. So their messages sort of gets forwarded to OpenAI, and the response get proxied back to the user. Hopefully that's fairly straightforward. If you want to look at it in terms of a diagram, this is how it looks like. You have the end user, you have your backend server. The user sends a message to your backend server relays it to ChatGPT. ChatGPT gives you a response, and then you respond back using the WhatsApp APIs on both the sides. The only question to ask here is until what point does the conversation context continue, and maybe there's like a clear command that the user can send to make sure that the conversation is cleared, and then any question he's asking is a new question. It's not related to the existing question that he was asking. All right, hopefully that's straightforward. The only difficult bits might be understanding the WhatsApp API here. The AI is fairly straightforward and encapsulated. You're not writing the model, and you're using a very clean API to forward the messages. I think this can be done in under 2 hours, and if this is the idea that you guys choose in the description of this video, I will try to do this in like under an hour and a half. With that, let's move to the second point. The second idea is building a ChatGPT plugin. This one again is very closely related to the Web 2 world. If you go to ChatGPT, and I think if you have premium, it will show you this section called plugins. These are basically websites and services all around the world. For example, Eraser is sort of like Accelerator. It lets you create diagrams. So what they have done is created a plugin of their own that lets users create diagrams here itself. For example, if I enable this plugin and I tell it, hey, can you give me a basic diagram of an API call? Hopefully it works. Sometimes it's very finicky, but let's see if it picks up the plugin. Seems like it did. All right, that doesn't look too bad. So as you can see, you can bring the power of your application, which in this case is Eraser, into the ChatGPT interface. I think eventually at some point we will be talking to AIs a lot, and when we do, all backend services, all companies will create ChatGPT plugins or some sort of a plugin. The UI that the user will be interacting with will not be websites, it will be an AI. If that becomes true, a lot of companies will have to move their backends as services or as plugins. So building this is a good technology to know. This is similar to in the 2020-2021 Web3 bull run. People understood how they can create NFT launchpads, and everyone was building an NFT collection of their own. These were non-technical folks. So you could understand this technology once and then keep selling it to multiple clients. I think this creating a plugin or becoming a plugin engineer could be one. Unfortunately, it's very easy to build plugins. I'll show you how. I talked about this in my last video. You have your backend service already. For example, let's say you're a trading application like Zerodha. You have a backend server that does a bunch of things. It's, let's say, an HTTP server, and it takes, let's say, a post request to /trade. That looks something like this. Market, let's say Reliance, quantity, let's say you want to buy 10 shares of Reliance. This is the order that you expect the user to send, and then you debit their account from fiat and then give them 10 shares of Reliance. This is conventionally being done through APIs. In the future, might be done via ChatGPT. The question is, how do you create, given your backend, how do you create a ChatGPT plugin for it? And the answer is you have to expose all of these endpoints in a certain fashion that an AI understands. There are many ways to create very nice descriptive files for your AIs. One such spec is the OpenAPI spec. This is not to be confused with OpenAI. It's a spec to follow when you're trying to expose the backend endpoints of yours and trying to tell someone, a machine, an AI, what each and every endpoint of yours does, what is the shape that it expects, what kind of a method that it expects, put, post, get, what is the input that it expects, what is the output that it gives, and what does every endpoint do. OpenAPI has taken the stance, okay, this is the spec that you need to follow or create. And once you create an OpenAPI file for your backend, which explains what every endpoint does, the machine learning model will be able to understand, okay, this is what your API is doing, and then call the right endpoints. For example, if Zerodha creates a plugin and puts it on ChatGPT, and if I type, hey, can you create a trade in Reliance? Can I buy 10 stocks of Reliance? The machine learning model will look at the OpenAPI spec, understand, okay, /trade is the endpoint that I need to hit with this user's keys. That can also be done somehow, getting the context of the specific user, and it'll hit the right endpoint and create a trade for you. So effectively, the backend is still Zerodha's. Only the API call is being made by an AI rather than a website. This might feel finicky / weird, but this is the place where the world is moving. As you can see right now, over here I wrote some message and the try eraser API was hit in the backend. This is how things may or may not happen in the future. It's good for you to understand how you can take a code base, OpenAPI it, and provide it to machine learning models, create plugins, so on and so forth. So there are two steps to do this. One is you create the OpenAPI spec. This is not easy. If you remember my Zelda video where I was trying to contribute to it, this was the issue that I was sort of picking up. Someone has created for that specific project an OpenAPI file, but it's sort of written by hand. When you create such a long file, because there are like thousands of endpoints in most backend systems, especially this big backend systems, it's harder to do this manually and then not create errors. So there are ways to auto-generate it. That's the sort of approach I was trying to take when I was trying to tackle that issue. I did not end up tackling it. This is something you can provide as a service as well. Very nice thing to do, because very large code bases, you have to do a bunch of things, and every language has a different way to OpenAPI it. Small plug here. In tomorrow's class, it's Friday today, it's almost Saturday now. Tomorrow we're learning how to do this in my course. And this, I think, will become a nice skill to have. It's not too difficult to do. Once you've done that and created an OpenAPI file for your backend, the other thing you have to do is create like a manifest file. So let's see. Sorry, I wasn't sharing my screen. This is what a manifest file looks like. It basically gives a description for a model, a description for a human. And these are what ChatGPT uses to sort of show things here. For example, I created a basic to-do list plugin. This is the title that got picked from, most probably here, description for humans, all right? The important thing here is this, which is the link to your OpenAPI file. This file contains all your backend routes and very nice descriptions for it. For example, there's a dummy OpenAPI file here, which says, okay, for a basic to-do application, the operation that's being done is get to-dos, doesn't matter, but the AI understands this. Okay, to get the list of to-dos for a user, this is the endpoint that I need to hit, which is /to-dos. I need to send a GET request, and somewhere here should be a response of how it looks like, how the schema of the response looks like, so that this guy can parse it and show it in a very nice human readable fashion. So that's one part of an OpenAPI file. As your app grows, you have a bunch of endpoints. You have to put them all here in this file. Bad way to do it is create it manually. Good way to do it is it's auto-generated. It's different for every language as to how you can do it. But there are standard libraries out there that make it easy to create an OpenAPI file for an HTTP server in any language. All right. Two things you need to know: how to OpenAPI a backend, create a simple backend of your own, OpenAPI it, create this file, host it somewhere, and then create a manifest file, submit it to ChatGPT. You should have a plugin over here that people can use all around the world. If I had to suggest something, an idea might be getting the current price of Ethereum, let's say you want to ask a model, hey, how's ETH doing over the last 1 day? For the model to be able to answer this, it needs to know the price of Ethereum right now and the price of Ethereum a day ago. So you can create a backend system that takes the current time as input, and the model will hit that endpoint twice, one for the current time, one for 24 hours ago, and then be able to answer, okay, this is how ETH is doing over the past 1 day. This is one plugin you can create. You can think of many other use cases. This is a simple one to build. You can just hit like CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap APIs to get the price of Ethereum at a certain time. Basically create a proxy backend server that just takes the request and gets the response from CoinMarketCap, and then OpenAPI it, expose it, and then create a plugin. All right, should be straightforward. Two easy projects, I'd say. As we go forward, things might get a little harder. These two projects are fairly simple to build. I've given the blueprint to build them. I will have to see a few submissions on GitHub and then post them in the comments. Let's move to the third point. So here onwards, use cases become slightly complicated, not in terms of the model that you're hitting or like the APIs that you're hitting. You're still using ChatGPT's API, this one right here, but the use cases are slightly nicher, and you have to understand a few Web2 APIs for it to work. All right, the first idea here, or the third idea overall. So here's the problem statement. I have a YouTube channel, and on YouTube, what happens is you have to change thumbnails and titles very quickly. Leave thumbnails for now. The way the titles get changed on my videos is my team messages me, okay, this is a good title. I look at it. If it feels fine, I copy it. I go to my YouTube dashboard. I click on edit title and I edit the title. Problem is it's very manual, and AI should solve this problem. So the solution is you create an AI bot similarly on WhatsApp. So there's a WhatsApp person I message, which eventually through the WhatsApp API hits my backend server. And I just message him, hey, this video isn't performing with a link. Can you find an alternate title? And maybe just change the title. And the AI figures out, one, what does the video do based on the existing title, maybe gets a transcript or subtitle. Once it understands the context of the video, it tries to generate some titles for it. And it has access to my YouTube through some keys, maybe limited access to just change the titles. I don't think that's possible. So it has some extra access to my YouTube, which is fine. It's an AI You shouldn't trust the AI, but I trust AIs more than humans because they don't do illegitimate things for like money, let's say. So I would message the AI, hey, can you change the title for this video? It'll figure out a few titles, maybe ask for approval. Okay, here you like this new title, I will say yes. And it'll hit the YouTube API to change that title. That means all I have to do is ask the AI to change the title and it happens automatically versus this manual effort of someone pinging me approving it, me going to YouTube and changing it. All right, this is again can be clubbed with the YouTube idea I've talked in the past. You can look at the video on the eye icon somewhere here to look at that. That was also a pretty popular idea. This one also, I think, can take away the pain and have like a virtual assistant of yours. And I think VAs are the biggest use case of AI, that a lot of tasks that were manual, what people have to do, eventually can be replaced, and then new jobs and good jobs can be created. This is one idea that I felt is fairly useful, at least for me, and great for your learning. All right. All the ideas from here are sort of going to be VA-like ideas. The fourth and the fifth point depend on the Notion API now. So what is Notion to begin with? This is what Notion is, and this is actually my Notion for YouTube, which means it's edited by two set of people, me and the team that I work with. These guys find a bunch of ideas that are popular, put them here in pending approval. Whatever I like, I move here, and then we eventually shoot it, and then things move around based on the status of that specific video. The problem again is the way this happens, at least for me, is I have a list of, I basically message myself on WhatsApp anytime I have a good idea. I have this very big sort of list of good thumbnails and good video titles. Anytime I think of something, I post it here. The problem is I look at it here, then I message it, then filter them out, message my editors, and then they figure out titles, so on and so forth. Too much of manual effort. So the solution is create a WhatsApp group for me. Whenever I think of a title or a video idea, and the AI automatically puts it here, which is basically in a section or like this section, which is like future video ideas. At least my editors can see it and then filter out what idea to pick, what not to pick. I don't want to put ideas here in Notion. You might say if you're lazy, I agree. But I think WhatsApp is the primary way that my note-taking application is WhatsApp. Syncing it to Notion is hard and manual, and I think this takes away that pain. I put a title here, it comes here. Yes, the idea was, the AI comes to the picture here, is after you've put something here, anytime a new page gets added here, a new idea gets added here, the AI needs to populate. For example, a video idea is developer portfolios, do's and don'ts. The AI needs to find relevant content throughout the internet and post it here. Videos by other people, blog posts, maybe just general information around what I should speak about in this specific video. So the AI should have context. Here, here's a YouTuber, this is his video title, he wants to create a video on it, auto-generate a script and give him as much context as he needs for this video. When you're shooting a video, having context in front of you is extremely helpful. So that's what the AI needs to figure out. So overall, 3 steps need to happen. I need to send a message should sync that to Notion, basically put a new Notion page here, and then the AI should automatically pull data from the internet and put it in this page so that I can read through it when I'm creating a video. All right. You could also skip WhatsApp altogether. Anytime Harkirat creates a new page here, maybe presses a button, auto generate, maybe don't press a button. Like anytime a new video idea is created here, somehow an AI populates it with a bunch of relevant videos and scripts. I think that's good. You don't have to understand WhatsApp APIs, so on and so forth. All right. You do need to understand Notion APIs though to be able to fill this page. That's the fourth idea. Last idea is also Notion related. This is for learning. So randomly through the day, I hear about buzzwords and technology. I'm sure it happens with you as well. For example, TRPC or TypeScript or large language models, supervised learning. Some technology, someone said, it's good, the person who's talking about is great, so you need to learn it. It's hard to, one, find resources for it, to be accountable, you're actually learning it. So here is the problem statement. Throughout the day, again on a WhatsApp group, I'm going very WhatsApp heavy because I think India runs on WhatsApp. If you want to build a business, you will have to build it somehow around WhatsApp. The idea is you go to WhatsApp and type, hey, I want to learn TypeScript in 30 minutes today. So you sort of set a reminder. Okay, today I should spend 30 minutes learning TypeScript. Please curate all the resources for it. You send such a message to WhatsApp. The message hits your backend API server. Your backend API server needs to, 1, create a Notion page like this. 2, fill it with resources for that specific time duration, which means 30 minutes, an hour, whatever the duration the user wants. For this, you can use the ChatGPT API, basically forward the question with the right context to ChatGPT. Harkirat is a learner. Harkirat wants to learn TypeScript. Harkirat has 30 minutes to do it. That's one thing that the AI needs to do. Pre-fill a page like this with all the resources for me to learn. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I don't know if it'll be the right resources. We will see. 2, the other thing it needs to do is, which isn't necessarily an AI thing, it needs to ping me back on WhatsApp to ensure I'm actually being accountable and reading through it. So it needs to make sure I've actually read through it, spent the 30 minutes that I talked about on the specific doc, and then maybe stop pinging me. But it'll be sort of your accountability partner. And if you're not accountable, you don't do a specific thing on a day, it, I don't know, becomes sad or whatever. I don't think an AI is needed in this part. The biggest thing that the AI needs to do here is summarization for a topic, which is find resources for 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour for the user to look through. And all of this sort of again happens through WhatsApp. The end user only needs to send a message on WhatsApp. The idea is to make lives of users easy. I'm trying to just think of use cases that will work and will give you some learning in the process. If you understand all of these end to end, you understand ChatGPT APIs. We're very high level at the moment. Eventually, we'll talk about the other niche I was talking about. Then we can dive deeper into models. Step 0 of getting into AI, creating projects by getting your hands dirty. That's how I learned WebRTC. That's how I've learned Web3 as well, is by building a lot of projects that I feel people would want. And some people who are not good developers but would have a lot of money through VCs would pay for. That's how I generally frame my learning framework. So hopefully that helps you, and building projects is always better than looking at tutorials. So read through docs, try to build one of these. And if you do, ping me with Alice in the video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.